Good morning, my yarny friends. Welcome to my crochet channel. Today is Friday Fun Day, and I have a fun little pattern for us to do. This is a bookmark as well as a keychain, or just a fun little fob you can hook on to any type of bag. Stick it on your book bag, your school bag, your project bag, anything that you want to hook it on to. It's also great as a bookmark. I've got it here in one of my crochet books. I can set that inside there and just shut the book, and then when I come back and finish this project, I know exactly where to go. We've added these fun beads, and of course the types of beads are up to you, and we'll talk more about supplies in just a few minutes. Now, you can find this really sweet and cute pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make our bookmark, keychain, or fob, all you need are just a few items that you might already have around your house. Now, this one is made with this bright green and pink cotton medium weight number 4 yarn. We started with one color, we did the center another, and then ended with the color 1. But you can do whatever colors that you want. You can even do it all in one color. I just like the contrast there. Now, for our demonstration, I'm going to start with yellow. I'm going to do this blue where the green is, and then I might end with yellow or maybe pink. I haven't decided yet. It just doesn't take very much yarn, not even a ½ ounce, I don't think, of each color. And that's why this is a great yarn scrap busting project. Now you're going to need a D-ring or a circle, and this is a 1-inch D-ring. You can also use just your basic circle keychain that works just fine. The rings that have the little folds in them, they work just fine. And then you need a little clip, and this clip is about 1 inch as well. And that's what we use at the top of our bookmark keychain. Now, as far as beads go, it's up to you how you want to arrange your beads. We put 3 beads on these rows. And so what I'm going to do for my demo is I'm going to do these beads with the silly emoji faces. And I'm going to put those where these white flowers are. And then I'm going to use the blue beads. They're different shades of blue, some lighter and some darker, on the sides. All right, and then you're going to need some for the bottom. I've added the white flowers on 2 of them and then 4 of the beads, and that's what we'll do with these as well. And that's about 18 beads. If you want to add more beads at the bottom, of course you certainly can. These are the small pony beads. Now, I purchased these beads at my local Walmarts and different places, Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Michael's, in their bead departments, and I always look when they have beads on sale. And this is what my bead box looks like. Okay, I have tons of different kinds of beads that I just toss into my bead box that I find when they're on sale. And here's some of those rings that you can use if you want to. 1-inch rings. And I find these kinds of things, the D-rings, the hooks, things like that, when they're on clearance or on sale, I stock up on them and I throw them in my bead box. You can also, another good place to find lots of beads is your local Goodwills and Salvation Armies and thrift stores that have like some children's jewelry and things like that. And you can find some really nice beads. Just take apart the bracelets and things for some fun beads. Anyway, we're going to be stitching with our H-hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You need a needle, and I'm using a straight needle because we're going to have to put our beads onto our yarn. And if you use that bent needle, sometimes it's kind of hard to maneuver that. All right, and so then lastly you need a pair of scissors. So you can go and get in your cotton yarn stash, and you don't have to use cotton. Any medium weight number 4 yarn will work. And then you can go and get in your bead stash and come up with some really fun combinations. So I've got my D-ring here. You can, again, like I said, use the 1-inch metal circle if you want to. We're going to make a slip knot. And now we're going to stitch 5 single crochets around the D-ring or circle, whichever you want to use. So we'll go in, pull up a loop, and make our single crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now they're not where I want them to be, so I'm just going to push them around here so they're on the bottom where that flat part is. If you're doing this on a circle, it won't be flat, but it will still need to be where you want it. All right, so chain 1. And so that's our first row. So for row 1, we stitched those 5 single crochets onto our ring and chained 1. All right, so we're turning our work, and we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, there we go, 5. And that's row 2. And we'll chain 1. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat this for 2 more rows. We're going to single crochet in those 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1 and turn and stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now at the end of this 4th row, we're not going to chain 1 because we're going to be changing colors. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my yellow yarn. And this is how it should look after your first 4 rows. So now, before we add our next color in, we want to add our beads onto our working yarn. And we want to add them on in the pattern that we want. And so I'm going to put 1, then a smiley face, then another blue one, because I'm using smiley faces and blue ones. And then I'll repeat that 1, 2, 3 times so that I have 4 sets like this. All right. So I've got my needle threaded on. So I'm going to put a blue bead, one of the smiley faces, and a blue bead. And then I'll repeat this 3 more times. Blue bead, smiley face, blue bead, and then blue bead. I guess they're not all smiling, are they? And then end with just 1. And that's going to give me the pattern like I did with the flowers and the pink beads on this one. And then that also leaves me these beads to finish with down here. All right, so we'll move those out of the way. And we're going to be working with our working bead, our working yarn, pushing our beads forward. So I'm going to take off my needle. I'm going to bring in my blue. And now I'm going to chain 1. All right, and so my beads are ready. My yarn is ready, and we'll have to weave those in, of course. And now I can add in my blue and start working on the rest of my bookmark. So for row 5, we're going to turn, and we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll just be pushing our beads forward until we need them. All right. And so this is how it'll look with our beads ready to go for row 5. All right, so we completed row 5, chain 1, and turn our work. Now we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 5. Four, 5, chain 1 and repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and chain 1. Now in our next row, we're going to begin pushing our beads forward. Now comes the fun part. All right, so we've chained 1 and we're going to turn our work. We're going to single crochet in that first stitch. And just a reminder, our chain 1s all the way up do not count as a stitch. Now we're going to pull a bead forward and just single crochet in that next stitch. Then we'll pull the next bead forward, single crochet in the next stitch. Then pull a third bead forward, single crochet in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in that last stitch, and chain 1. And so from the side that we're working on, you can't see the beads, right? But when we turn our work over, there are those 3 beads that we added. So now what we're going to do for the next 3 rows, we're just going to stitch a single crochet in each of those 5. And it is a little bit clumsy going around these beads. So you just have to look at those stitches and just make sure you stitch 5 single crochets on each row. So here's 1, and now I'm going to stitch 2 more rows of just 1 single crochet in each of those 5. So I've stitched 3 more rows of 1 single crochet in each single crochet, chain 1, turn, and here's my last row, chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to add those beads again. So single crochet in the first, pull a bead forward and single crochet in the next stitch, pull a bead forward, single crochet in the next stitch, pull a bead forward, single crochet in the next stitch, and then single crochet in the last stitch, and chain 1. And now we have our second row of beads. So cute. So now what you're going to do is you're going to repeat row 9, 10, 11, and 12 2 more times, which is 3 rows of single crochet, chain 1, and then the row where we added on our beads. And you're going to repeat that 2 more times. That's rows 9, 10, 11, and 12. Repeat 2 more times. I have repeated that 2 more times, and we ended on a row with our beads. You'll notice I put the last 2 beads on upside down. I think it's hilarious. All right, so I'm done with my blue, so I'm going to cut my blue yarn, and I'm going to bring in my yellow. So at the end of that last row, don't chain 1, bring your next color in, and then chain 1. All right, so then we'll turn our work and we'll just stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 5 like we've been doing. Move that bead out of the way there. All righty. All right, so now we're going to do 2 more rows of just 1 single crochet in each of those 5, chain 1, turn. All right, so there's 3, 4, 5, chain 1, turn, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and chain 1. So now we've just stitched 3 rows in our color 1. So now we want to taper the bottom of our bookmark. So what we're going to do, we've chained 1, and we're going to stitch the first 2 single crochets together. So we're going to go in the first single crochet and pull up a loop. Then we'll go in the next single crochet and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops. Now we'll just single crochet in the next, and then we'll stitch the last 2 together. And chain 1. And so now, instead of having 5 single crochets, we only have 3. For the last row, we've chained 1, and we turn our work, and we're going to stitch the last 3 stitches together. So we'll go in the first single crochet and pull up a loop. We'll go in the next single crochet and pull up a loop. Then we'll go in that last single crochet and pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook, and we're stitching all 3 of those together. So we'll yarn over and go through all 3 of those and chain 1. And that's going to give us a nice point on the bottom of our bookmark. We'll cut our yarn and tie that off. Now we do have a few ends that we have to weave in, and so it's real important that we do that right now. And one of the ways I found when working with cotton yarn, if you kind of split the end open, it'll lay nice and flat, and it makes it easier to thread your needle. All right, so I'm going to take a few minutes here and weave these ends in nice and secure, and then I'm going to show you how to add that little beaded fringe at the bottom. My bookmark or key fob or whatever we're calling this key chain is all tidied up. All my ends are all weaved in securely, and I do really love how this one looks. Even though these are upside down, I think it's funny. All right, so what we're going to do last is we're going to add the beads. That's my needle I need. And we're going to add the fringe. And so what you're going to need to do is cut 4 strands, and I like doing 2 of each color. If you did more colors on yours, you can add as many colors as you want to. And it needs to be about 12 to 14 inch long strands. All right, so we're going to take it like this. We're going to take our hook and go right through that center of that point. Pull this through. And give that a nice tug so it's going to stay put. So there's your fringe. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add some beads. But we want them to stay put. And so what I like to do is take 1 color of each. And this is the trickiest part because you've got to get both of these strands of yarn on your needle. All right, so we're going to fold those over as flat as we can get them and scrunch those in there. All right. And then we'll just take one of the beads. I'll just start with this one. And it is going to be sideways because we're doing 2 beads. And it's tight. And it's okay because that means that bead's going to stay put. And then you can do them at different lengths if you want. And just tie a couple knots so that bead doesn't come off. And the truth is, if you want more than 1 bead on your strand, you can do more than 1 bead on your strand. All right, so the next one I'm going to do 2 blue beads. All right, so again, we're going to try to flatten those out. And it makes it easier if you go ahead and kind of open the ends up, because then they'll lay a little flatter. All right, so I'm going to squish that down so it's nice and flat. And just sort of force those in there. And sometimes if I can't get them both, I'll go ahead and do the one and shove it down to the more narrow part of the eye of the needle, and then do the second one. Because because you need to have both of those strands of beads on, or yarn on there. There we go. It just takes a couple seconds. All right, so I'm going to grab 2 of these blue ones. And of course, you can do all different colors of beads. And these can be at all different lengths. They don't have to be even. And then we'll just make 2 knots. And I like to do 2 because it makes a nice big knot so that your beads are not going to slide off. All right, so I'm going to do that 2 more times on these other 2 sets of strands or fringe. So I've got all my beads on my fringe, and now I'm going to trim them. But you don't have to do these perfectly. It's up to you where you want to trim them. And I usually just go and get them all at once and clip them, because I don't care if they're not perfect. I like them kind of wonky and different. But I love how this one turned out. Isn't that adorable? I love those upside down faces. So here's the other one that I did. And then here's the one with the smiley faces. And the last thing it needs is a clip. And there are lots of different kinds of clips. I just really like these because they go on and off really easy. And now I can clip that to my crochet bag. I can clip it to my purse. I can clip it to my library bag or any bag that I want to. And these are really neat to make, to put on your kids' backpacks too, because they'll be original and different, and your child will be able to, know immediately that's their bag without putting their name on their bag, and they wouldn't lose it. So it has lots of fun uses. All right, so these are our bookmark, keychain, key fob, or whatever you want to use it for. I just love them and think they're adorable.